All right. Good evening, sir. I'd first introduce you. Okay, so to all our participants here, we have Mr. Devvrat Singh, who is an environmentalist, field researcher, Gharial Conservation Program in Katinighat. He started to work on field at a very early age, and now it has been around 6 to 7 years of him working in the field of wildlife conservation. He has worked as an urban wildlife rescuer. His work further extends to ex situ disaster management, stereotypic and abnormal behavior of Indian grey wolf, ex situ enrichment, population estimation, and animal behavior. He has also assisted the Lucknow Zoo veterinary team in animal tranquilization and capture, animal relocation, animal treatment, and postmortem. He has also been working on crocodile population and ecology by being the field researcher of Gharial Conservation Program. He possesses good command on working on reptiles and especially in human-snake interaction. Thank you so much, sir. It's an honor to host you right now. Um, the meeting is all yours.
Thank you so much, Alia, for the wonderful introduction. So, firstly, I would like to congratulate you all for being selected among the 40 participants who would be attending this webinar. And so we came up with an idea about the snakebite management, which is, I think, a very crucial topic to learn for you all. Because I believe snakebite treatment is already a part of your medical syllabus. And snakebite management extends it further to dealing with people and entire case study, whatever the cases may be related to snakebite treatment and snakebite introduction. Then the webinar the session will be divided in 5 parts. So basically, we'll be starting with reptile conservation. And from that, we'll be discussing about the types of reptiles and what all the loopholes are there in conservation, where all conservation is needed, why they are important, and everything. Then from that, we'll jump to the spotlight of today's webinar, that is snakes. Then we'll be discussing about human-snake encounters or human-snake interactions. And from that itself, it will extend it to snakebite management, and the different variables that determine the snake bite incidences, and obviously the pressure that two people will have to deal with while dealing with human snake interactions or the snake bite management. Because you see, snake bite management is a very it's a very regular thing that will come into your way every now and then. So without wasting any further time, I'll now share my screen. So reptile conservation and snakebite management, I've already told about you about the session. Reptiles. Now, reptiles belong to kingdom. This is a general introduction about reptiles. Reptiles belong to kingdom Animalia, which is one of the 5 kingdoms of classification. Kingdom Animalia, then the phylum is called Data, that is they possess spinal cord. Then subphylum is Vertebrata, that is they have a vertebral column. Plus Reptilia, that is all about reptiles. Now, what are reptiles? Reptiles are mostly tetrapod animals. That means they have 4 limbs. Mostly tetrapod, that is, other than snakes, all of them have 4 limbs, none less, none more. Mostly egg-laying, except a few species that live in very extreme cold climates. All of them are egg-laying. Very few species, including the vipers and some of the lizards that live in very cold climate, they are viviparous. That is, they directly. In fact, not even viviparous. Basically, you use another term for reptiles, egg-laying reptiles. That is oviviparous. That is, the eggs are hatched inside the body itself, inside the womb itself, and then the young ones, the hatchlings, the neonates, they come out directly. Then they have scaly bodies. They have scales all over their body, which are known as scutes. They are cold-blooded. That is, they do not have endothermic processes. They are ectothermic. They rely on the heat from the surrounding environment to heat themselves up or to regularize their metabolism. Then they breathe by lungs. That is the last part. Then there are four major reptiles group, which are also the four orders of class Reptilia. I hope you all must have studied about the classification, kingdom classification in your intermediate and that time, very initially. So the four major reptile groups are Crocodilia, that consists of crocodiles and alligators. Then you have Stomata, that is snakes and lizards. You have Pispan, that is turtles and tortoises. And then you have Sperodontia, that is you have two species of Sperodontia, which are basically two species of Tuetra, and now the Tuetra is the only animal left in the order Sperodontia, and it's native to New Zealand. So basically in India, you find these three orders, that is Crocodilia, Stomata, and Descitans. Importance of reptiles. Reptiles provide ecological services in form of predation, that is all reptiles are basically predators, some of them scavenge as well. So the kind of services they provide to environment is basically by eating or by preying upon the all that comes under their prey, or basically the smaller animals that may include a variety of diet. Their diet ranges from very small insects to different amphibians and reptiles and even mammals, smaller or larger mammals. Like crocodiles can drag away medium-sized mammals like deer and blue bugs and all. Now, crocodiles are the apex predator. We will discuss the three orders found in India one by one. Crocodiles are the apex predator in the river ecosystem and apex predator in the marine ecosystem, one of the apex predators in marine ecosystem as well. So in river ecosystem in India especially, there's no other animal that comes above crocodiles in terms of maintaining the biodiversity or maintaining the population of the smaller animals in river ecosystem. So there we have three types of crocodiles found in India. That is Crocodilus palustris or mugger crocodile. Then we have Crocodilus cacticus, that is the gharial. These two are found in river ecosystem, and then in marine ecosystem we have Crocodilus porosus, that is your saltwater crocodile. So saltwater crocodile is obviously one of the apex predators, because in marine ecosystem you have other large predators as well, such as sharks and all. And the rest two, gharial and mugger, they contribute a large in controlling the fish population, the aquatic animals population, and turtles, other reptiles, aquatic reptiles. Snakes are the keystone predators, especially in grassland and agricultural ecosystems, and they primarily control the rodent and insect population. So snakes are among the reptiles. The snakes are the most important predators, and when we are talking about ecosystems such as grasslands or agricultural ecosystems, because there you won't find any other reptiles such as monitor lizards and all, most of it. So these are the ones who control the rodent population especially, and also the insect population to a large extent. So and then we come to lizards. Lizards are scavengers apart from controlling insect and rodent populations. So lizards are obviously capable of prey. They are very good predators, but at the same time, monitor lizards can also scavenge. Unlike snakes, they don't have to swallow. They can actually bite away pieces from their prey. So even they can scavenge from a dead body. They can take away pieces from the dead body as well. Reptiles also control the population of the smaller reptiles and amphibians. So reptiles are like there are many reptiles which exhibit cannibalism, that is eating away their own kind. And also there is no exception that a reptile won't eat another reptile. Like the snakes can even eat away the lizards or any reptile, whatever comes into its way. If it can eat it, it'll all it'll not leave a step behind from eating it. Reptiles are known to be the key indicators of the environmental changes. So that means reptiles are very sensitive to any kind of change or any kind of environmental degradation. So this sensitivity is a key indicator of any kind of negative environmental change. So like for example, gharial. So gharial have been now declared as critically endangered. Now we have only around 650 adult gharials. That is, the breeding population has got restricted to 650 individuals. Now, this compromise with the population of Gharial, this has been due to number of factors like water quality or anything, because Gharial, they cannot now they cannot move away from the protected area, because the clean water you only find in protected areas, and any kind of small human disturbance that starts almost right after the protected areas, Gharial won't be able to cope up with that. However, Magar can still do that, but mostly the population of both is seen flourishing and breeding in a protected area. Threats for reptiles in India. Crocodiles are facing challenges like sand mining, improper fishing practices, poaching, construction of dams. I'll explain all the threats one by one. Habitat alteration and fragmentation, egg poaching, intentional killing, and encroachment. Now, coming to sand mining, what happens with sand mining is that in crocodiles, as I told you, there are two species found in the riverine ecosystem, that is the mugger and the gharial. Gharial are very sensitive, and they cannot walk away from the river, like the flowing freshwater of rivers. However, bugger still has choices in terms of habitat selection and nesting substrate selection. So it can move into the deeper parts of the forest as well in the stagnant water bodies such as ponds or lakes. But at the same time, gharial cannot leave the fresh flowing water of the river, and also it depends entirely on the riverine sands to nest. So in sand mining, these guys take away sand from the mid-river sandbars or river islands. So due to this, the level of height of islands or mid-river sandbars, it keeps on sinking. And finally, the gharial have no place to nest. And this is one of the main reasons that why the gharial got extinct from the Brahmaputra channel, the Brahmaputra river. Improper fishing practices were like, firstly, there needs to be controlled fishing, or at least controlled methods of fishing. What happens is, if you are the local tribes, if you are spreading net in a river around the protected area, or at sometimes local tribes are also allowed in the buffer zone. So near or around the protected area, if you are spreading your nets, and the nets are floating in the river for the entire day, and then you are taking it out. So mostly, okay, you're having a lot of fishes stuck into it, but at the same time, gharial and turtles, these guys were, or even muggers, the smaller size muggles, sabaters, and all. These guys come for the fishes that are stuck in the net, and like obviously it's a very easy prey for them, and they get entangled into the net itself. And once they take out the net, so many a times, many individuals from gharial and crocodile population and turtle population, they also come out with it. And as a result, intentional killing happens, or if they obviously they cannot breathe underwater, they have to come out to take to inhale, and also once they get entangled in the net, they cannot they might be entangled for a couple of hours or even more than that, or maybe for an entire day. So how will they come out to breathe? And they suffocate and lose their lives right underwater. And and obviously once if they come out when the net is dragged out, then obviously on seeing a crocodile, no fisherman is going to leave them. Also, they kill them instantly. Then poaching, also you must be aware of poaching, that crocodile skin is in high demand. Nest poaching is also there. And nest poaching, what happens is the locals they come and take away the nests of crocodiles or turtles, and they take away all the eggs, maybe for some ritual purposes, or eating, or for selling those eggs. The reasons are unknown. Like, they have their own traditional methods that have been coming down since ages. And they have now we have construction of dams. So what construction of dams does is primarily it restricts the movement of the reptiles in the river. So if there is a dam built on a river channel, and the individual flows through the dam, and once the individual has crossed the dam, it cannot return back to its original habitat. So if a gharial or a mugger has crossed the dam, it cannot return back to the protected area if at all needed, if at all it has to breed or anything. So firstly, construction of dam, it restricts the movement of the animal. At the same time, it also stops or controls the flowing of the river. And obviously, you might have heard about the disastrous impacts of the dam that the POD goes down, oxygen level goes down, and POD and COD, everything changes simultaneously. Habitat alteration and fragmentation. Habitat alteration is a key factor of habitat modification. So any kind of modification in the habitat that is due to the construction of dam, if we are talking about aquatic habitat, and also the changes that are being done in and around the forest by the maybe by the authorities or by the plant conservation as well. But we need to see about some of the stress impact to this as well. Habitat fragmentation means all the crocodile habitats, the distinct habitats of crocodile, all the protected areas, they don't have any kind of aquatic connectivity between them. So all the populations have got restricted. They have no kind of linkage between them. Like if I tell you, gharial population is now restricted to the breeding population is now restricted in India. It's restricted to Chambal, then to Corbett in the Ramnagar in Corbett, Katanya Ghat Wildlife Sanctuary, and Gandak river that flows beside the Sohagi National Park, Wildlife Sanctuary. Sorry. So all these four populations, they don't have any kind of linkage between them. Now, tortoise has also suffered loss of habitat and nesting ground, as I told you, because of sand mining and the habitat modification. Then poaching comes into the way. There are always many times trucks of turtles, like many trucks containing turtles. They are stopped at the border, Indo-Nepal border or any border, Indo-China border. Poaching is a very prime element in proper fishing practices, as I've told you earlier. By throwing nets into the rivers, crocodiles and turtles get entangled into it as well. Intentional killing primarily for food. I don't know why, but people find turtles very good sometimes as an edible stuff. Then egg poaching. Egg poaching is the same for crocodile and turtles. And sand mining, etc. Threats, snakes and leathers are facing threats of poaching. Also, snake skin and leather skin are also in demand in the international market. Then intentional killing out of fear or for food and medicines. So basically, most of the snakes are killed as a under retaliatory attack by the humans. Now, major cause for this killing of snakes is out of fear. Most of the snake kills are done out of fear because we have, in our mind, we have that whenever we see a snake, our first instinct is to just kill it because we think that it will intentionally come and bite us. So before he kills us, we kill it back. So it is basically the fear that is in the mind of people that makes them kill the snake and even more kill themselves. And also there are people like especially in China and all people they make some kinds of dishes and recipes for snakes and lizards as well. And even in India, there are local people, local tribes and all who kill the snakes for food and all. Habitat loss of these snakes and lizards both are facing a tremendous habitat loss, and this is the only reason why the snake habitat and human habitat have started overlapping in past many years. Obviously, they have been coexisting for decades, but now seeing the current scenario where the human world is entirely separate from the natural world, snakes and reptiles, snakes and lizards have now been sharing their habitat entirely, and in some cases, snakes might prefer human habitats. The process calls in particular habitat. It gives all types of ecological benefits and variations for a particular species. And accidental death, obviously, if they are living close to us, many accidental deaths can also happen. Maybe they can get crushed under some vehicle, or unintentionally they can get killed if we are just, for example, we are using our saw in the field, or we are just wrapping up crops, and we are so in between if they come, some many times it happens, they get cut into pieces accidentally. So these are some of the major threats, but the most important threat are poaching and intentional killing out of fear or for food and medicines. Now, what is the conservation status in India? It's a very important thing that you all need to know. Firstly, all the reptiles come under the Scheduled Species and Wildlife Protection Act 1972, and all the species that come under the WPA 1972, they cannot be killed, they cannot be captured, they cannot be harmed. So this is one thing that mostly when people kill any snakes or even monitor or crocodiles, anything, they are basically is punishable offense, especially if the species is included in Schedule 1. You can have, you know, you can get, you can be penalized very heavily. Also, at the same time, you'll be behind the bars. All crocodilians are in Schedule 1. And yeah, one more thing, that this is the main reason why should you not kill any wild animal, and why should you inform the forest department whenever you encounter any human wildlife conflict case about the animal, because all the native species, that is all the wild animals of India, they are scheduled under Wildlife Protection Act under different schedules, that is from 1 to 7. All crocodiles are placed in Schedule 1, that is all the 3 species come in Schedule 1. All monitor lizards, I don't know how many of you have seen monitor lizards, but it's almost the common gecko that is being found in the place, and you might have seen a very big lizards roaming, almost of the same appearance, but just quite large in size. Those are monitor lizards, if you at all would know. So all monitor lizards, along with golden gecko, are in Schedule 1. Basically, in India, we have lizard monitor, and we have Bengal monitor, we have water monitor, and we have yellow monitor. So these are the 4 monitor lizards that we have in India, and along with the golden gecko, they are placed in Schedule 1. That is, and I tell you, many times monitor lizards are being killed, although they are neither venomous nor poisonous. That is, you cannot, like, they have no impact even if they bite you, or even if your skin gets in that contact with their skin. They are neither poisonous nor venomous, and very few people know this. So people often treat monitor lizards as venomous or very life-threatening animal. It's not so. And all monitor lizards along with gecko are in Schedule 1, or turtles and delphine are in Schedule 1. This is a very key point that you need to know. All the turtle come under Schedule 1. All the pythons, we have 3 pythons, 3 types of pythons in India. That is Indian rock python, and then Burmese python, and the reticulated python. We have all the 3 pythons along with Indian elephant snake in Schedule 1. Snakes, such as all the cobra species, the king cobra. Now, king cobra is basically, it's of an other genus. It doesn't come under the larger genus, that is the cobra species. King cobra is a snake that resembles cobra, so that's the name, and it's quite large, obviously, so he got the name King cobra. All the cobra species, King cobra, checkered keelback, Russell's viper, dogfish water snake, olive keelback are in Schedule 2. Indian chameleon, Himalayan salamander, Indian spiny tail lizard are in Schedule 2 as well. This was about the Schedule 2, and rest all of the schedule species, which contains all the species of tortoises, the remaining species of lizards and snakes, they all are in Schedule 4. What is being done in order to conserve the reptile population in India? Actually, the entire wildlife, but here we are talking about reptile population. So MOFCC, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry and Climate Change, it takes up rescues by itself, and it even promotes organizations who are involved in rescues. So basically, whenever you find a snake or any wild animal, you need to contact the forest department of the district, the DFO or anyone. So what it will do is, like, basically you don't have to contact any personal snake catcher, any snake charmer, or any such person. You have to immediately inform the forest department. He will then channelize it, or he'll then put you in contact with some organization or some private snake catcher or anyone who is involved in the rescue, or maybe they can send some forest people or in order to conduct the rescue. And then research works are being promoted to conserve wildlife. Obviously, there are lots of organizations who are promoting wildlife conservation by research works. Heavy research work is being going on, but there are other loopholes in this, which we will discuss in the next slide. Awareness programs and campaigns are being held by NGO. This is the very crucial part in order to bring down human wildlife conflicts. And if the entire public gets educated or aware about the wildlife and human wildlife conflict scenario, conservation, the problems in conservation will be reduced to half or even more than that, because if public is supportive, many things can be achieved. And awareness is the key point in wildlife conservation. Without awareness, wildlife conservation is it's a hollow concept. Then reptile species are also being conserved by zoos and nurseries. Those we might have gone to zoos, and there are nurseries especially made for conserving species of turtles and gharials and even crocodiles. Small nurseries are being made where the hatchlings or units are brought, and then they are looked after until they are of a adequate size that they can survive in the natural ecosystem on their own. So basically, it's to enhance or improve the chances of their survival in the natural ecosystem. Now, loopholes in conservation, lack of awareness in major population, as I told you. Most of the people are not aware of whom to contact in case of wildlife conflict. As I told you, they must contact the forest department directly. And what to do, where to fear the animal and where not to fear the animal. Like you do not need to fear any kind of reptiles if you are not in close distance with it. For example, there is no snake that can harm you from 10 feet away, right? So these are some of the things people should be aware of. Proper rescue methods used by the rescuers. Now I tell you, most of the rescuers, they don't know the proper rescue methods, right? They might go at random with their own rescue methods, and whatever they have, most of rescuers, they become rescuers after seeing channels like National Geographic or Discovery, which makes it more adventurous and more life-threatening and more heroic. So they don't know the proper rescue methods, proper handling of the animals, and this in turn might just harm the animal to a very great extent. Mortalities even happen from the wildlife, and at the same time, there may be certain cases where they cannot rescue the animal at all, because rescue is altogether, it's a very big process, and it has many aspects of its own which the rescuers need to be made aware of. Low confidence of public and forest department. It may be primarily due to a reason. Maybe they do not. Many times it has been seen that forest department took some time to revert back or to reach the location or to make a proper arrangement. And obviously, people lose hope with the forest department, or even forest department need the people, the official rescuers of forest department, they need to be trained how to handle animals so that no rescue goes in vain. And each and every rescue gets completed with seeing the safety of animal as well as humans, and just seeing that no injury or mortality takes place in humans or animals simultaneously. Less implementation of rescue outcomes and suggestions given by the rescue teams, rescue organizations. So just yeah, so whatever things are given as suggestions out of the research outcomes, they are barely followed by the ministry or by the government at times, or even like even awareness is one of the things that come out of that is one of the research outcomes. And you think yourself how many people are actually aware or educated about wildlife even after so many awareness programs are going on. And suggestions are also, they are barely applied because it can cost a huge amount of money and manforce at the same time. Then zoos and conservation centers hold a very small reptile diversity. There are very less species that are actually conserved by the zoos or conservation centers. There, the main snakes that you easily find, you commonly find, they are mostly conserved in the zoos and conservation centers, but not the species that are hard to find and that are facing immediate threat. So instead of putting more focus on the species that are already at a very species of least concern, which are already not facing so much of threat or immediate threat of extinction, they must be brought into conservation centers or zoos in order to at least maintain a healthy population in the captivity, which can later be used to increase the population in the wild also. Then low vigilance and lenient laws, many of the animal mortalities go unnoticed, and that is why no strict actions are taken. Only like if a tiger, leopard, elephant, any bigger animal dies, the forest department comes to know, but not about the snake mortalities or smaller animals mortalities. And also there are lenient laws. They things can be justified invariably, like with the obviously if the animal was the first one to attack and you killed it as a retaliatory attack, so things go easy for the person who has killed the animal. But this is actually this is something that needs to be challenged as powerfully as a human killing. Because we still need to bring up good and strict laws that can actually, uh, uh, you know, uh, that can actually let people think that think twice before killing any animal. We are now coming to the main topic: human snake interactions and snake bite management. Human snake interactions, basically, we know that human and snake, they have been coexisting for ages. So human snake coexistence, what can be the impacts of human snake coexistence? Well, two species are living together, they'll live in harmony or they'll challenge each other's presence. And that is what happens with human and snake coexistence. Animal death, human death, both happen, obviously, and habitat destruction. We as humans, we are constantly, destroying the habitats of wild animals, and that is what leads to the human wildlife conflict cases increase in HWC and animals encroaching or entering into the human settlements, and that is where snakes are also losing their habitat, and they are now more fond of entering the human settlements and human residences because it gives them all what they want, especially in winters. Like winters, the snakes undergo brumation. It's a process where their metabolism gets very slow. It reduces to a great extent, and they cannot. They lose all their swiftness and movement and all. So they need to find very good places to reside, and human settlements give them ample opportunity. Habitat destructions and injuries to people, obviously injuries to people and injuries to wildlife, both attacking each other for some or the other reason. And these are some of the common negative results. And negative perception of humans towards snakes lead to their poor conservation. Now, until unless humans are not aware, humans do not share a positive perception, positive attitude towards snake, this will lead to their poor conservation. This will lead to more of snake mortality because negative perception and negative attitude of humans. It is because of mostly the people, they have not been bitten themselves. The people who fear the snake, or out of this large population, there are many people who have never been bitten by a snake themselves, or they haven't even seen a snake ever. But they have heard about snake bite cases and deaths from snake bite, and this is what has been going on coming down for ages, from our ancestral times. So now we already know that a snake is like the human mind has framed this image of the snake that it's basically a threat for us. So this is an evolutionary adaptation that we as we are not basically predatory species. So, being what we are, we basically we fear the predator species, and since reptiles are among the predator species, we have an inherent, a fear for them. It's same as that if a deer, if you have some kind of deer and it hasn't ever seen a tiger in its life, and suddenly you bring a tiger or a wolf or something, a carnivore in front of it, it'll automatically it will show all signs of alertness, all signs of vigilance, all signs of fear or fear from the, because this is what is inherent. This is what it has been bringing down in its genes. Same happens with humans as well. Now, humans and snakes cohabitate rural as well as urban environments in many parts of the world. So it's not only that the village population or the rural population or the local population, the local tribes living in and around the protected areas or some kind of forest, they'll only encounter snakes every now and then. It can happen in urban environments as well. So even the township areas, snakes are as abundant as the rural sector. Just that we don't find them very often. And then snakes coexist with humans by living in homes, gardens, and outhouses wherever. However, their presence usually goes unnoticed. I'm pretty sure that if anyone of you is not living in an apartment, if you have a garden or a lawn, it's quite probable that you have ever encountered a snake, or even if you haven't, that doesn't mean it's not residing in it, because your even if you have a small garden, it gives shelter to ample of reptile species, ample of small animals, maybe mongoose, rodents, and all this is what attracts snakes into your house, into your residence. Then usually, the snakes and human habitats are not delineated in developing countries due to increasing urbanization, migration of people, and hunting practices. Now, there are three things. We are obviously going with urbanization and industrialization. There's migration of people, human population shifting every now and then from here and there, and there are hunting practices. So both of these species, despite of having habitat overlapping habitats, it's not delineated. We are going, both the species are going on two different tracks. We do not share a common pathway of coexistence. Then increased destruction and degradation of natural habitats of snakes, increased human population and rapid urbanization have caused the snakes to find shelter in human settlements. So this is basically a summary of type of points. Human snake encounters. Where do you mostly encounter the snakes? Residential areas are typically the most frequent sites of human snake encounters. That is your homes and all. So mostly whenever the people, as per the survey, they encounter snakes, it's mostly in or around their residential area, because obviously if you are stepping out, it's probable that you find a snake, but it's not as probable as much possible as what you find in your residential area, because you spend most of your time in your houses or in your residence, especially in the morning and evening, when the snake sightings are most frequent. Most of the snakes, they prefer to move at night when there is no disturbance, but at night we guys are sleeping, so we cannot really notice the presence of a snake around us or in our residences. Now, farms, forests, and public places are some other locations for high human snake encounters. Obviously, farms, forests, agricultural lands, recreational parks have contributed in increasing chances of human encounters with the snakes. You see, farms, forests, agricultural lands, and recreational parks all have perfect environment for this snakes. That is, these are mostly either agricultural or grassland ecosystems. If you, as we had talked earlier, the agricultural lands, farms, and recreational parks all have a very good ground of grass. They have a very good grass cover, and that is where the the rodent population comes into action, and following them, the snakes come as well. and it gives them a very good hunting ground or preying ground. And there are public places. Public places include all sorts of parks, the recreational parks, and the roadsides, anywhere where there are more public together. It's not, we cannot say that at public places due to much human motion, we cannot ever find the snake, but there are lots of places where we can find, especially in the zoos and all. It's not that in the zoo snakes are only kept in captivity or housely. The zoo has a good green cover and snake species are one all around. Variables that are interconnected with snake activity and movement patterns are weather, season, and landscape. So mostly the human snake encounters take place in monsoon, because monsoon is the perfect season for the activity of rodent population. And as I said, rodent population or any or the population of any such small animal is basically the driving force of the snakes of their houses, of their holes. Now, and also during monsoon, the weather is adequate, the temperature is proper, it's not very hot and that is very cold at the same time, and the water might enter into their holes and it might force them to come out. So basically, in monsoon, mostly most of the snake counters occur, and then there is landscape. In landscape, the proper landscape, as I talked to you earlier, that the places, the grassland and agricultural ecosystem, and the human settlements as well. Because what happens with human settlements is that in your storage house, storerooms, or in your any like in your house, you might be having at many points you might be having stuff loaded one on top of the other, and it causes a crowd of such stuff, and snakes have a very good chance of hiding behind that, especially in winters. And also, and good training grounds are provided to snakes in agricultural fields or grass fields. In some cases, snakes may even prefer areas with human activity over truly natural habitats, because, as I told you earlier, also in synthropization, the human settlements, they provide a very good ground, very good ecosystem. In fact, at some point, snakes might feel it preferable over the natural habitats due to a variety of things, that the food that we leave as leftovers, the food leftovers, and the food stuff thrown here and there, and other things, whatever, this attract the rodent population into our houses, right? And this is like even if you leave some of the food material in your sinks or somewhere, in your washing sinks, obviously rodent population comes into action, and this is where snakes come into action as well, especially in monsoon season. You have lots of insect population entering into your houses because of the light and all, and following them comes lizards and toads, and following them comes the snakes. However, snakes can obviously prey on the insects as well. Now, snakebite scenario. Snakebite was first recognized as a neglected tropical disease in 2009 by the World Health Organization, that is WHO. Now, as per the 2010 reports, it was recognized in 2009 by the WHO, because seeing the uprise in human snake encounters and snake bite cases, WHO had to include it in its list. Now, WHO, here I would also like to tell you that WHO has classified the snakes into two categories. That is, the venomous snakes I'm talking about, the venomous snakes into two categories. That is category one, that includes those species which are venomous, and at the same time they are highly, they live very close to or in very close proximity with the human population. That is because these are the species that are the reason behind most of the snake bites. And the category two consists of the venomous species that live away from the human settlements. So that is mostly inside the forests and all, and they hardly come in contact with the human population. So those species are they do not contribute to much snake bite cases. Then snakebite envenoming. Now, what is the snakebite envenoming? Envenoming is basically the process of introducing the venom into the body. So basically, to remember this, envenoming, you can divide it into en and then venom. So entry of venom into the body. It's basically just for you to remember. Snakebite envenoming affects more than 2.5 million people globally and is a public health problem. It is estimated that Asia suffers majority of snake bite-induced deaths, ranging from 15,400 to 57,600 deaths per year. That's quite a good number. And by WHO has estimated that India has the highest snake bite mortality in the world. So now what happens is most of the countries, they have developed a very good mechanism for bringing down the snake bite mortality. However, India still is lacking behind, and we'll be discussing why this is happening. Basically, this is all the name of snake bite management. India still lacks in snake bite management, like surely the snake bite management, and also to some extent snake bite treatment as well. Then India experiences an average of 58,000 snakebite cases annually, out of which 100 people, 1,000 people die due to snake bites each year. So out of 50,000 snakebite cases, out of which obviously many of the cases would be from the bite of non-venomous snakes, but even if we divide it into half, that makes it somewhere around 29,000. 29,000 snakebite cases from venomous snake species, and out of that, 1,000 people die each year. Now, this is just saying like the half species if we consider it non-venomous, and the half we consider venomous. However, it's not so. Impacts of snakebite. Snakes are responsible for numerous bites and deaths, as well as the cases of permanent physical handicap. We'll be discussing why the short-term and long-term impacts of snake bites. So, out of numerous bites, several of them cause deaths, and many of them can give you a permanent physical handicap. Snakebite also has significant socio-economic repercussions on vulnerable sectors, or socio-economic repercussions, because see, in India there are major population is living below the poverty line, right? And they do not have much money or much resources for snakebite management, or even if, for suppose if you have educated about the first aid or snakebite management, they do not have proper treatment facilities. They do not get proper treatment facility. So, and because it's not a very cost efficient process. It can cost several thousand rupees, which is also very very problematic for a person like a farmer who has been bitten by a snake in his field, right? And then snakebite incidences are among the cause of morbidity and mortality among pastoralists, farmers, children, and hunters, and are typically common in rural areas. So anyone associated with the rural areas are obviously it's all due to the occupation of the people living in the rural areas. Mostly, what kind of occupation of the people? Farming. Everyone, like other than owning a shop, or other than owning any small business or any kind, such as being an electrician or being a laborer, anything, but still they have crops, they have what agricultural lands, and they, even if a small one, and they need to work in their agricultural lands as well, or some or the other family member needs to work in them, and also at the same time, if we talk about laborers, they spend the entire time, for suppose in shifting bricks from here and there, and snakes can obviously hide between the loads of bricks, right? And suppose they picked up a brick, they don't know snake is sitting under it, and it bites them. So these are the people, especially the poor sector, and those living in the rural areas. The poorer sector can be in urban areas. So anyone who needs to work in close proximity to where the snake can be, they are mostly under a high threat. Obviously, people like me and you, we are sitting in our rooms, we have good places to live, or any person who lives in posh environment and things. So obviously, we are least, prone to snake bites. But imagine you're a sweeper or your labor who is busy in shifting loads of, suppose, rotten leaves in your garden. So he's the most he's the person most prone to snake bites or snakes. So now the interaction of anthropic and environmental drivers result in the variation of snakebite incidences on a geographical and temporal scale. Basically, anthropic and environmental drivers, these are two different aspects, and when they overlap or when they join with each other, they result in the variation of snakebite incidences. Anthropic, just discuss the social demographic variables that can be one cause of snakebite incidences, and the environmental drivers, that is the kind of environmental or ecological services that we provide to the snakes. These together, they form more chances of, as I told you, for suppose the rural area, as I told you that mostly the snakes would find a very good ground on the agricultural fields, and agricultural field is the same place where a farmer goes for farming. Now here the anthropic driver and the environmental driver both came together, and both brought snake and the human at one location. Now the human snake encounter has to happen, and as a result of that encounter, there can be a snake bite or a snake mortality. Whoever sees the other one first, or whoever feels a threat from the other one first, he will be the one uh, uh, trying to kill the other one. So, and on a geographical and a temporal scale means that this can vary from place to place. It's not necessary that if our zone is if the zone of Uttar Pradesh is very well educated. However, it's not. But in case if it's very educated, the same thing we can expect from the people living in Tamil Nadu, or people living in Gujarat, or maybe even if we educate the entire population of India, we cannot expect the same thing from people of Pakistan or Nepal, right? So on a geographical scale, these factors might vary, and also different places have different abundance of snakes. Like if you go in Africa and you start a survey somewhere from Kenya, Masai Mara, and all that, wherever there is a savanna grass. So there are many people who depend on savanna grasslands, or who are in and around these grasslands, and they encounter snakes every now and then, much more frequently than us. And on a temporal scale also, that it can vary from time to time, that is season to season, whether from one weather to another, depends on the type of climate. We here in India, we experience, like in the northern zone especially, experience continental type of climate, which causes winters to be very extremely cold, and summers to be extremely hot. And if we move towards the shore, we find a Mediterranean climate, which is a very stable kind of climate. So the movement of snakes, the species diversity and species abundance, like vary from place to place according to the time. And as I told you, that in the northern side, in the northern region of India, most human snake encounters will happen in monsoon only, because in summers it gets very hot for the snakes to roam around during the daytime, and in the winters obviously undergo brumation, so obviously they cannot come out. So this is the one thing. This is a very important thing that we need to keep in mind. This is all about snakebite management. Okay, now under understanding snakebite management. Now let me tell you a short story. So once there was a king. Now I'll just take 2 minutes. There was a king, and then he ordered two woodcutters to give each of them an axe, and the axe was blunt. Like he gave 2 axes, and both the axes were blunt; they were not sharp. So he ordered them to cut down 2 trees of exactly the same radius within 2 hours. Okay. So the first one immediately started on with his axe and trying to cut down the tree as fast as possible. The other one spent, out of the 2 hours, the other one spent 1.5 hours in sharpening the axe. Okay. So everyone was wondering that why is he gone mad? Like, why is he not hitting the tree? So he was just sharpening his axe, and when he saw that only half an hour left, he then got up, he started cutting down the tree, and within 20 minutes, he cut down the entire tree. Whereas the other one, he took an extra 15 minutes to cut down the tree. And also, much of the effort got wasted. So, this is what is basically the management thing. So, this is basically the thing that is a story that is told to students who are doing pursuing their study in management. Basically, it's snake bite treatment where the exactly the role of doctors comes. Snake bite treatment is basically the falling down of the tree. It is the ultimate step. But sharpening the axe, okay, this is the snake bite management. Now, snake bite management involves several factors, including the kind of people that you will be dealing with, the kind of cases that you will be dealing with, how to bring down the cases, how not to let the cases rise up. So obviously, you'll be losing some of the patients, by the way, if you do this. But it's okay. Like obviously, you need to save their lives. It's more important. Now, see, first step in the snakebite management is to make people aware of the species and whether they actually they need to learn to coexist with the snakes. Now, even if you fail to do this, then the next step is if both of them encounter each other, if the humans encounter the snakes, and if any snakebite incidents has happened, do they actually need to fear? Because most of the people die just out of heart attack if on getting bitten by a snake. So before even they can receive the first aid, they are they leave the world. Now this is because of the fear. Because if a snake immediately, there will be adrenaline rush, and the person might suffer a heart attack. So he needs to learn that which snake has bitten him, whether it's a venomous, semi-venomous, or a non-venomous one, whether you actually need to snake has bitten you, or hello, am I audible, Alia?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so sorry. I think there's some network issue. Actually, I'm in a remote area, so that's why.
No problem, sir.
Yeah. So understanding is snake bite management. Yeah. So I was telling you that yeah. So the second step would be whether the person actually needs to fear the bite or not, and then comes the first aid, and finally, after receiving the first aid, then where he must actually go, whether he must go to some nonsense religious influencer, snake charmer, or should he contact the doctor. So this all a part of education or awareness that the people need to have. Causes of mortality due to snake bite. Sorry. Causes of mortality due to snake bite. That is lack of knowledge about species identification. Most of people don't cannot identify the species that live around them. And just as I told you that if they know which species has bitten them or which species they need to fear, and which of them is venomous or non-venomous. Obviously, much of the problem will get solved. Lack of knowledge about safety from snakes. Uh, so, how to prevent a snake bite? Obviously, prevention is better than cure. So, how to prevent snake bites? There's a whole altogether different phenomena, different process, and this is where awareness comes into play, that they need to coexist with the snakes, and also to at the same time defend themselves from the snake. They must know where snake can take shelter, where it can hide, what are the chances, and like the rodent population, if someone has good rodent population inside his home, so obviously it will drag attention of most of the reptiles, these snakes and lizards. And even sometimes what happens is people, as I've seen during the survey and all rescues, people tell us that we used the rat kills and all, and got all of the rodents removed. But what happens is, did you actually clean the excreta of the rodents? Because their excreta, it also, the smell can drag the snakes again. So for them, if the excreta still remains, snakes might think that still rodent population is living inside, and they can again enter into your houses. Then lack of knowledge regarding proper first aid. Now, people use uh, like number of first aid methods. All of them are wrong. They might, just cut the bite spot with a blade or a knife. So, in order to let the blood ooze out, and hoping that the venom will also leave their body along with it, but it's not true. You are just harming yourself, at the same time increasing the chances of any kind of infection or something. Uh, because if the iron piece or the metal piece, it can also contain rust. It can give you a severe infection later. And also the venom that is released, it is in such a small quantity that it cannot be oozed out by either by sucking the bite spot or by cutting it by knife or blade. These are all foolish methods. Also, sometimes what people do is uh, they use something called manka that is given by the snake charmers. Now, for manka, basically, when someone gives you, it's this small. It's basically the size of your thumb or even smaller. Yeah, half the size of your thumb. And it's a V-shaped thing, looking like two mushrooms attached at their bottom. It's a V-shaped thing. And what it actually is, it's the testis of Bengal monitor. That is one of the monitor lizards. It's a dried up testis for the snake charmers. They kill the monitor lizard, the males, and they take out the testis. They dry it up under the sun, and they present it to you in form of a holy herb called manka. And they tell you that you can just rub this thing on the bite spot, and the impact of the venom will have no impact on your body. So these are, so basically whatever people use as first aid methods, these are all the things that have been taught by snake charmers or religious influencers, religious public figures like babas, tantrics, these guys. Superstitions, myths, and traditional beliefs, as I told you, that these are the most, uh, disturbing thing in snake bite management. These are the things which are responsible for maximum deaths due to snake bites. Like not getting proper medical facility and all comes later, but these things, the superstitions or myths or traditional beliefs, these are the things that determine the death to a very great extent in case of a snake bite. Influence of snake shamans and religious public figures. Well, this is the reason why snake shamans run around seeing police or forest department people, because what they are doing is basically illegal. However, they do know how, they have been doing this for ages, for generations, and they do not know what else to do but However, this whatever they do is something very, very wrong. It's highly illegal. And same thing is done by religious public figures. Religious public figures, what they do, like, or snake charmers even, what they do, like how they gain trust of people. Because if you can scare a person, you'll immediately gain his confidence on you, because he'll think that you are the person who can save him from the snake bite. So if they do not scare, they won't run. So this is the thing, they basically scare the people, they generate fear in their hearts to follow what they are telling. And also, one more method to gain confidence is like, since they have been using traditional methods, they exactly like mostly know which snake has bitten, whether it was a venomous or non-venomous one, from the bite spot, from seeing the bite spot. I'll discuss it with you in some time. So they can predict that, oh, I have, like, they'll do all sort of rubbish things, like sprinkling water on you, or reading some chants or something, and then they will say that, yeah, we have removed the venom out of the body. But actually, the venom never ever entered into your body. It was a bite from a non-venomous snake, and people do not know that. So this is how they fool the people and they gain their confidence. And that is why mostly the uneducated population, even the educated ones, and especially in the rural areas, they are more dependent on the snake charmers or religious influences rather than hospitals. Lack of confidence in hospitals and medical science. Obviously, medical people, they are not there to, feed some kind of fear into the minds of people. So that is why like, people just hope that we have, like, people are the public is very determined that, yeah, we have brought the victim to the hospital and now he has to get saved. Like, even if they don't say that out, but inside our mind we have this thing right now. uh, Even if there is a complicated case of a snake bite, or the people have already applied some rubbish first aid method, that can be actually deadly, that can be fatal, and also depends how much time did they take to bring the person to the hospital, whether he can actually be saved or not. So it's not in the hands of doctor if they themselves have been using some kind of silly first aid, right? And also, yeah, okay, that's a different thing, that we are, we need to train the doctors more and more to fight the snake bite cases. Also, we need some, uh, powerful antivenoms and all. But there is another thing. Mostly, the snake bite mortality in hospitals happen only because of the silly things done by the people themselves. And then unavailability of antivenom due to various reasons. Like, if I tell you about the rural population, as I told you, the rural population is the most affected population from the snake bite and venomation. And many times, the rural places, they do not have a good hospital facility around them. Like, the people, they do not have a good hospital close to them, to which has anti-venom facility. They need to travel for kilometers, and if in between they get stuck in some traffic jam or something, obviously it will take consume more of their time, and hardly anyone knows about the proper first aid method. I'm telling you the first aid methods as well. So hardly they know about the first aid method. So they have max to max around half an hour to reach the hospital, somewhere around half an hour. Very healthy person can take it to a little far, from half an hour to half an hour and 40 minutes, between half an hour and 40 minutes, 45 minutes. But usually, like, very few people are healthy nowadays due to, alcohol consumption or smoking and all, and various other activities, not feeding themselves well, not having a proper diet and all. So, and mostly the people are facing a high blood pressure or something. Every other person is suffering from BP or diabetes. So all these things, like, in very few cases, you can, without any first aid, you can take it to more than half an hour. And also the stress level contributes a lot. Like when you are in stress or in anxiety, your heartbeat increases, and the venom can spread at a much faster rate into your entire body. Then lack of overall awareness. In this, everything comes whom to contact, what to do, what not to do, not to kill the snake, and if at all first aid and in front to the hospital, everything comes in overall awareness, which is lacking in Indian public. Identification of big four. This is something you all need to focus upon. And after the presentation, you can also of big four, not big four. Why do are they called as big four? Because these are the four species in India who are responsible for maximum snake bite deaths, maximum mortalities from the snake bite. All four are venomous, highly venomous, and these four, they contribute to much of many of the snake bite cases, like majority of the snake bite cases. We are not talking about the non-venomous one. Leaving the non-venomous one out of the venomous one, these are the four who live in close proximity with the humans, and these are the ones who contribute to mortalities from the snake bite to much greater extent as compared to anything else. Now, the first one here is spectacled cobra. You can see the image in top left corner of the screen. Scientific name, Naja naja. Now, a spectacled cobra can be very easily identified from its hood. The mark of the spectacle at the back of its hood. And also, like mostly it will be either completely brown or completely black, but here in this one, as you can see, there are slight markings on the skin. This happens when they are about to shed their skin, so color variations might occur, but mostly whenever cobra bites, people notice that it was a cobra due to its hood and everything, right? So this is one easy way to identify the spectacled cobra. It has a round body cross section. Then the second one is the Russell's viper, that is Taboia russelli. Russell's viper, to identify the Russell's viper, firstly it has a diamond-shaped head. Then it has a chain. If you see it closely, you'll find that there is a pattern of chain running through its entire spine at the top of the body. If you see, there are loops attached one after another, and this gives an impression of a chain, a sort of thing. So you can identify very well. And then the third one is saw-scaled viper, which is another viper species, that is Equus carinatus. And to identify the saw-scaled vipers, the saw-scaled viper are usually around 1.5 feet maximum. These are very small species. You generally find them of few inches long, and even they share almost same pattern as viper, but here you can see rather than the chain pattern, rather than being on the spine, it's a little off the spine on either sides, right? So one pattern is running right side of the spine and one is running left side of the spine, and in the center it can give you not exactly these are the loops, but somewhat quadrilateral shape of pattern. They can be dark brown, they can be brown, and like in this one. Then the last one is the common crate. Common crate, the body would be black, and it has very thin white, pale yellow white stripes running throughout its body, and also the body cross section of this snake is triangular. It has a triangular body cross section. If you cut the snake from anywhere, the body, you slice it into two, you will see the body is in a triangular shape, right? So basically, it's a little on top of the spine. And this is these are the big four snakes, telling you about the kind of venom that they possess. Uh, Cobra and Prey, that is the spectral cobra and common prey, both have neurotoxic venom, and the Vesper's viper and first viper both have hemotoxic venom. We'll discuss about the venoms later. So you have to be very sure about the identification, because there are several species that resemble these big four and which live in very close proximity to human settlements as well, but they are non-venomous. That is these ones. They have physical resemblance in different species. The first one is spectacled cobra at the top left, and right below the spectacled cobra is the are two Indian rat snakes. So the right one is looking yellowish in color, and the back one, the left one, where there is the one placed at the behind the yellow one. This is, if you see, this will give an impression of cobra, right? But cobra can actually have a hood. It has a round hood, whereas rat snake does not have. Also, rat snake has a netted pattern running all over its body, whereas cobra has almost plain, plain skin. They do not generally have prominent patterns. Then, but they both resemble a lot, and also the rat snake, it can raise its the front portion of the body of the ground, and it might give an impression as in this picture, and it can give the impression of a cobra raising its hood. But remember, cobra's hood is round. In some cases, they might not like to spread their hoods out, but still then you can just go for the body cross section. That snake has a triangular body cross section, whereas cobra does not have. However, once and yeah, rat snake has a variety of colors. The body coloration can vary from place to place, time to time. So it's not that, and as you can see, the one that is behind, it has a very dark coloration and it's resembling almost to a cobra. So basically, at the face, it has a netted pattern. It has stripes and things which the cobra does not have. So these are some of the differences that you can go for. And then the other one, Russell's viper, you can see three pictures, one below and one below the other. And the top one is the Russell's viper. You can identify it from the chain pattern, as I told you. That one below it is the Indian rock python. And if you see, it does not have like the basically, firstly, the Indian rock python can grow as big as 21 feet. And in some cases, however, the records say that they can grow up to 25 feet, but finding a python of 25 feet is very rare these days. So anyway, ranging from 20 to 25 feet. But the babies of Indian rock python, they might resemble to Russell's viper. So how to distinguish that Russell's viper has very rough skin and it's not shiny at the same time, whereas Indian rock python has a shinier skin as compared to Russell's viper, and it has the skin of Indian rock python is very smooth. It's not like the Russell's viper rough. It's very smooth. Also, the patterns, if you see, it's not a chain pattern. It's not like the loops kept one after another. It's more of a irregular pattern. However, the patches are placed one after another, but still it's an irregular pattern, and you just have to look for the chain pattern. That is the loop pattern kept one after another. And the last one, the third one in of the three photos, the one at the bottom edge of your screen is the common sand boa. Common sand boa, it might also resemble Russell's viper. However, the body will seem to be more thick, and also basically it also has irregular patterns. It does not have a chain pattern. So chain pattern is the key identification for Russell's viper. You just have to go looking for the chain pattern. Then there is common trait, common. Let's try and The one resembling common crate is right below it, that is a common wolf snake. So the common crate, it's basically black in color, and it might even the on putting some light when it shines, when the skin shines, it can give you impact of a little tinge of blue as well, indigo blue. And the stripes are white in color and very thin and placed close to each other, much closer to each other. Whereas the common wolf snake and yeah, common crane can grow as long as to 6 feet. Whereas the common wolf snake, it can grow only up to around 1.5 feet maximum. Then the skin is completely like the entire skin is brown with pale yellow stripes, which are thicker as compared to the stripes of crate, and they are also placed at a much wider distance as compared with crate, whose stripes are placed very close to each other. Also, the common wolf snake has a inverted G mark at the back of its head. You can see there is the arrow kind of mark right behind its eyes, where the head is attached to the neck. Then the last one is saw-scaled viper, and the one whom it resembles is the common cat snake. The rhesus viper shows a regular pattern, whereas the common cat snake shows irregular pattern again, and the stripes are much more disturbed. But in the first scaled viper, the stripes are much more prominent, right? So this is the main identification. However, common cat snakes are usually found in forested areas, but as I told you, due to habitat overlap and all the disturbances and habitat disturbances, the snakes have started entering into these wild species have also started entering into the human settlements. And then common names, I must tell you, these might help you in the future, that cobra in Hindi it's called nag, or in the rural people they call it petar, or sometimes it can be called as nagina, nagin. These are all the snakes. The one below the cobra is Indian rat snake, and common name for rat snake is thamin or ghorapachar. And the next one, Brussels viper, is at the top again. In Hindi, it's called seagull or cheetah or sakra. So seeker is basically what you call chain in Hindi. The zanjeer is a synonym for zanjeer, right? Because of the chain-like pattern, it's called the seeker. Or a sakra is another terminology used for the same. Or it can be called as cheater. And then below it is the python, and everyone knows that python is Ashtar, so I don't need to tell it. This common sand boa, people are usually unaware that there's something called as common sand boa, so they term it as Ashtar themselves. However, some people who possess some knowledge, they call in Hindi they call it mitti wala saap. And the common crate is, in Hindi you call it karat or karata, and the one placed below it, no one knows about common wolf snake. So mostly people know it by the name crate only, but it's you who need to know that these are two different species. The first scaled viper, so this is also basically for them. This is also cheater or seeker or sacra. However, this is mostly called as cheater because the chain pattern is more prominent in the Russell cycle, and they can identify Russell cycle as seeker, sorry. And the common cat snake. So this the common name, Hindi name for the cat snake is still a mystery. Many people don't know about the common cat snake. Snakebite cases and related demographical variables. So the demographic variables, you need to be very sure about the kind of or type of population that you will be dealing with. Wherever you have, you are working, what kind of people are mostly going to come to you. Obviously, for other things, for other diseases or illness or anything accidents, people from far of places, they might also approach you. But snake bite is something that needs immediate treatment. So obviously, people living in near you or near your workplace or the area where the hospital is located. Only people from only that area will come and pursue you. So, firstly, you need to know about the demographic variables associated with the snakebite management. That is, first is locality, whether you are working in a rural sector or an urban sector. So basically, main problem is like it will be very problematic when you're dealing with rural sector people. They are the ones who are, swimming into the ocean of myths and superstitions, and they are more reliant on snake charmers and religious influencers. Also, these guys, they out of their very high, so-called very high intellect, they do many absolute methods of first aid. So obviously, more complicated cases will come to you from rural sectors, and it's more difficult to deal with the rural population because for them things are either white or black, and you need to convince them that no, it does not go that way. It's a complete medical procedure, and out of your stupidity was that we couldn't, whatever the treatment was unsuccessful or anything because, and also yeah, they even you need to make sure whether they how much time did they take to reach to you. Just a second. Then the gender, you need to be very sure about the gender. Like I'll just highlight the main thing that is the first one. Females are, the males have developed a little more immunity to snake venom as compared to females, or because of the evolutionary adaptation. Because in the past, it was the males who used to mostly go on the field to work, and they were the most prone to snake bites. So with time, they have developed a little more, tolerance to snake venom. Then age, it gets difficult with increasing age to treat the snake bite because kids might take only half 1.5 week or 2 week to get completely treated, whereas in older people it can take from 1 to 9 months to get treated. Occupation of per capita income sectors below a type of poverty, or say you need to be very sure because people who have very low income, they cannot afford the medical facilities. So it is you who need to make it accessible to them. Education, illiterate, elementary education, school education, college education, etc. Because it's obviously easier to educate people who have received some kind of education. You cannot go on debating an illiterate person, and based on their education, they'll take the steps that are necessary. Symptoms of a venomous snake bite: a pair of puncture marks at the bite spot, which is true to some maximum extent is true, but not true in 100% cases, because sometimes what happens is the snake is not able to make a proper bite on your limb or anywhere on the bite spot, and it can give an impression. It can give a very confusing impression, like for suppose a rat snake has bitten a person, but only two or three of the fangs, two or three of the teeth. It has very small teeth. Where two or three of the teeth punctured the skin. So when on seeing it, one might say that it is a bite from a venomous snake because it's showing two puncture marks, that is marks of two fangs. However, it's not true. Also, sometimes what happens is even if a venomous snake has bitten you, it couldn't make a proper bite, and only one so these are all very confusing parts. Redness and swelling will be around the bite, which will keep on increasing with time. Swelling will keep increasing in radius. Severe pain at the site of the bite. Nausea and vomiting. The person might feel uneasy and might urge to vomit. And labored breathing, heavy breathing, and all. And in very critical cases, obviously, the breathing may stop altogether. The person will be having disturbed vision, like problem in vision and all, and increasing salivation and sweating, numbness or tingling around the face or limbs. First aid for the snake bite. So firstly, you'll wash the bitten body part under running cold water. Then next thing is keep the bitten body part below the heart level. Remove all jewelry and band, because if there is any kind of jewelry, it might channelize, stop the venom from flowing or leaving that area. So that part will be ultimately we'll have to cut that part. Then tie a 4 inches wide cloth strip or bandage from the side of heart towards the bite spot. And in case there is a bite at the pole, such as a knee or elbow, place some kind of elongated solid body, maybe a plastic piece or a wooden piece, and then tie the bandage in the same manner. That is from the side of the heart towards the bite spot. Most of the bites occur on the limbs, right? So this can be easily done. The tight cloth or bandage must be tied tightly such that it slows down circulation as much as possible, but not so tight that it stops the blood circulation entirely. Because what will happen if the blood circulation is stopped entirely, the affected body part will start rotting, it will start getting infected, and ultimately you will have to cut that body part off. Then keep the victim calm. You need to console the victim. You need to encourage the victim that nothing's going to happen, just in order to keep him calm and not to increase it anxiety and stress, in order to maintain the heartbeat. And the person must not take any kind of physical load. He must be kept at rest. Rush to a hospital immediately. You don't need to rush to any snake charmers and all. And also, if possible, take a photograph of the snake, or at least try to remember the appearance. This is when you'll be making people aware of the first aid. This comes as a part of first aid as well, so that it's for you as a doctor to know which snake actually bit the person, whether the treatment was needed or not, or things like that. And do not, in case of a snake bite, don't raise the bitten part above the heart level. You cannot raise your hand like this above the heart level. Don't let the victim sleep, eat, or drink water. Do not pick up the snake or try to trap it. Do not wait for the symptoms to appear if bitten. Rather, seek immediate medical attention. Do not apply a tourniquet. As I told you, tourniquet stops the blood circulation entirely. Do not slash the wound with a knife or a blade or any sharp object. Do not try to suck out the venom. Basically, it will be silly to try to suck out. Just a second. Do not apply ice or immerse the wound in water. Do not drink alcohol or caffeinated beverages. And supplementary information about the snake bite management: amount of venom released during a snake bite. That is during a snake bite. Usually the smallest snakes, hatchlings, they release more of snake venom. They have very large amount of they release very large amount of snake venom into the body of victim. That requires a special kind of treatment. Appearance and nature of the bite. Sometimes the bites are dry bites. They do not release the venom at all. And types of venom: neurotoxic, that affects your nervous system, and the hemotoxic, that affects your blood vessels and blood. Cardiotoxic, that affects like your heart. Myotoxic, that affects your muscles. And the cytotoxic, that has a local impact on the bite spot. Type of antivenom. So basically, in India we use polyvalent, that is made from the combination of the venom of the big four species. We do not use monovalent venom here, which can be more specialized actually. A number of antivenom vials for treating a snake bite. So usually in very mild cases we use 2 to 4 vials of antivenom. Then in moderate we use 6 to 8, 10, 10 to 12 maybe. And in very, very critical cases, the number of vials can shoot up from 20 to 40. complication in snake bites. So basically, these are some of the diseases. Actually, we are running out of time, so you can just take a screenshot of the complications that can occur as an impact of this snake bite. There are immediate complications and long-term effects as well. Then there is complications in snake bite treatment, because people may be allergic to snake venom, antivenom, and also if you didn't use the antivenom properly, because it's a very sensitive thing. So any overdose or underdose of antivenom can impact the person or adversely. So and yeah, the bottom line, swelling must resolve within 48 hours in uncomplicated cases. So you need to check whether the condition of the swelling, whether it's going down within 48 hours or not, and it remains effective as long as the signs of systemic inflammation, usually 1 to 1.5 weeks. So you need to plan your treatment accordingly, because you have already given the doses and you have to see how long the previous dose is working. Then implications for snakebite management, training campaigns or workshops for medical students, that is you all, so that you know how to treat the snake bites, because still in India, we are lacking in proper and efficient snake bite treatment. Awareness campaign for public or for proper first aid, like public should know what is the proper first aid, what to do, what not to do, as I told you. Accessibility of antivenom and medical facility to the more affected locations, and because rural areas are the places which need more antivenom facilities, even if not a proper hospital, then it's still at least some kind of a small clinic or a snake bite treatment center, because this is something that will come most often to you. And cost-effective snake bite, one vial of snake bite may cost, one injection may cost around 650 rupees in government hospital, and it can reach up to 2,000 in a private hospital, which is very expensive for a person, for someone living below the poverty line to afford. So it must be made cost-effective in promoting human snake coexistence and awareness that we have talked about. I won't take much time. Then less human deaths, will obviously less snake deaths, because if humans learn to coexist with snakes and we somehow manage to bring down the human mortalities from awareness or something, obviously humans will stop killing snakes. And that's all. Thank you so much. This is my contact info. If you have any query, especially about the parts that we have left, then you can feel free to contact me on the email contact number. Thank you so much, and I'm very sorry it just got over time. Abhi, you can take it from here.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. It was a wonderful presentation. We don't mind you taking such more time, because it was comfortable and great. Thank you so much, sir, for your presence. It was a pleasant time with you, and we look forward to collaborate with you in future endeavors. Thank you, sir. You can continue with your daily routine. It was great to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All the best to you all.
Thank you so much, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.